Hi, I'm John Marr, and I'm here today with Mike Cappuccio, founder of N.E.T.R Inc., a heating and cooling company in Massachusetts with a focus on Mitsubishi ductless heating and cooling products. And today we're talking about the cost savings to switch from oil, gas, or electric to a ductless heat pump system. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good, thanks. Mike, can switching from oil, gas, electric, or even propane heat to a ductless heat pump system save you money?
Kind of a loaded question, John, but there's a yes to that, and then there's a no to that, and it all depends on certain things as far as, what type of fuel are you heating your home with, and what temperature might you want to run your heat pump at, and what are the cost of those fuels today? There are instances where, when you're using gas heat to heat your home, that, is it cost effective to switch over to a heat pump? Um, it could be, it could not be. Most of the time we're seeing it's about the same cost. Sometimes actually costs you a little bit more to run your heat pump with gas because gas is obviously the most economical way to heat your home. But, the other side of that too is, how much can you affect the environment if you're not using gas to heat your home as well? With oil, you know, price of oil today is, upwards probably of $4 or $5 a gallon for heating oil to heat your home. Could even be more. We look back 3 years ago, it was under $2. So heating your home with a heat pump in the wintertime versus oil in today's market, being June of 2022, it's going to be less money to heat your home with a heat pump at the lower temperatures. But one thing that I always tell people, if you're looking to heat your home with a heat pump, is you've definitely got to look at the envelope of the home and tighten it up. As far as insulation goes, windows go, things like that. You have to do a home energy audit with your home, and you need to make this home as tight as you can, because most furnaces and boilers will produce 70, 80,000 BTUs, where most of these heat pumps are somewhere around 50,000 BTUs. So you need to definitely tighten up the home, do a proper heat load calculation on it, and then look at the cost comparisons, see what those are.
Yeah, so Mike, why don't you walk us through this MassSave Heating Comparison Calculator and maybe get into some specific numbers and of different types of depending on what type of heat I have in my house or what type of air conditioning I have in my house and my square footage, et cetera. See whether or not economically it makes sense or that I'm going to get some savings in my heating and cooling in my house by switching to ductless. And then, of course, like you said, the other thing to consider is the environmental impact as well with all of these and how much less carbon you're going to be putting into the air. And I think the comparison calculator gets a little bit into that as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
why don't you walk us through that?
Okay. So John, this is a great calculator tool that MassSave has on their website. That has, it's basically there for the homeowner for, to go on and go look and do some research on this. I highly recommend doing the research before you do just jump into this. So again, it's on MassSave's website. It's called the Heating Comparison Calculator. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to compare the annual cost, and it's going to show you the carbon emission savings from investing in a new heating and cooling system, which would be a ductless heat pump or a ducted heat pump, depending on which type of a system you would put in your home. So I'm going to show you some cost comparisons. I'm going to kind of scroll down on the screen here a little bit, and I'm going to get into let's say a gas home. I'm just going to kind of use a basic zip code here in the Boston area. This is Saugus 01906. I just know it because it's my zip code. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the home square footage. Let's take a 2,000 square foot home, basic ranch of some sort, I'm going to call it. And the existing heating system, when you do this drop down here, it's going to ask you, do you have an air source heat pump already? And is it ducted or ductless? Do you have a boiler with hot water, steam, or radiant floor, electric baseboard, a furnace with hot air ducts and registers? Those are, your basic furnace with ductwork that you'd be using, or a heating stove using coal, wood, or pellets. So it's giving you multiple ways that you can heat your home. But for right now, let's just say that we're using a boiler, old steam boiler, let's say, or a radiant floor boiler in your home. And it's now asking you with the existing heating system fuel, what type of fuel does your boiler run off of? So is it wood? Is it electricity? Is it fuel oil, natural gas, propane, wood pellets, etc.? I'm going to say that I'm going to be running this furnace off of, or this boiler, I'm sorry, excuse me, on natural gas. Okay, now it wants to know, the fourth box down is, how do you want to enter your heating fuel consumption? Okay, and this is basically either going to be done by dollars or CCF. The CCF is the measurement of the gas bill that you're getting, but for this case, we're going to use dollars in here. In your average fuel consumption, basically how much money do you spend a year in a heating season to heat your home with natural gas? Now, I want you to kind of look at too with this. This is where little people get a little bit fooled with this. Is if you have natural gas to heat your home, you probably have a natural gas stove. You probably have a natural gas dryer, things like that that are in your home. So I want you to look at the difference between an average monthly bill when you're not heating your home in the summertime. Let's say your gas bill might be $100 a year, and then in the wintertime, your gas bill might be $500 a year. Well, you're still using your stove, you're still using your gas dryer and things like that. So your average is $400 a month. And let's say that goes on for, 5 to 6 months of that additional $400. So you're basically subtracting the difference of your average use that you're using in the seasons when you're still using your heat. So if we take that $400 a month for the natural gas and we multiplied it times 5, let's say it'd be $2,000 for your heating system for that year. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to look at my cooling system. Do I have air conditioning in my house with this steam boiler? I probably don't. I'm probably using room or wall air conditioners or portable air conditioning at that time and putting them in the walls or in the windows, or portable air conditioners with tubes that stick out the window, etc. So what I can do now is calculate my savings to this and look at this versus what it would cost me to heat my home with a air source heat pump or ductless heat pump or ducted heat pump, whatever you really want to call it. But at the end of the day, you're heating your home with a heat pump. So I'll calculate the savings here, and you can see now that it actually gives you a nice little chart here that shows you, are there any savings? Are there estimated savings to use a ducted or ductless air source heat pump? So see, this is an air to water heat pump. This is a ground source heat pump. And it does also show you that there is no savings. It's negative $250. But what is going to happen here is you're going to save basically 3.4 metric tons of carbon going into the air, and that's equivalent to the mileage of driving your car 8,000 miles per year by using a heat pump at that point. So it's pretty substantial when you look at that. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, look at the ducted air source heat pump. Okay, when we start looking at using these, I mean, and this is using this as a full source of heat. Okay, so that there's not a savings here, and I'm just
It's going
being
to be a
honest
little
with
bit more expensive
you. It's gonna be a little bit more.
heat with a
Yes,
heat pump. Yeah.
it is with removing natural gas. There's not going to be a savings. I mean, it's showing it to you, but here's the impact of it: the 2.6 metric tons of what you're doing here.
Right. So if your focus is that you want a greener home and you want to have less carbon emissions and you want to help the environment, then switching to ductless is going to do that for you.
Yeah, and I mean, this is why when you look at everyone how they're moving to ductless air source heat pumps, is the big factor that's going on here is not, with natural gas, is they want this to happen. They want the metric tons of the carbon to be avoided in the CO2 emissions. This is what's causing the problems right here. So, is there a savings with gas? No. I mean, the statistics are showing it right here. If you wanted to integrate it, okay, I mean, same thing with a ductless air source heat pump right here, but this is more supplemental. If I used it at 5 degrees Fahrenheit, this is if I'm using my heat pump to heat my home above 30 degrees, okay?
And
And
under 30 degrees, you're using your traditional system.
under 30, I'm using my traditional. But you
Okay.
can see it's not, it's going to cost you a little bit, but look at the impact you're having here.
Yeah.
A big impact right here, almost as much as what you're doing to use it full time, because you got to remember, we don't have a lot of heating hours below 28 degrees, 30 degrees. If you were to really sit down and look at those hours in the course of a heating season, I'll bet you it's probably about 500 hours. It's
Right.
not a
Even
lot.
in the middle of the winter, you tend to be in the 30s during the day, and then it's really just like at night it might drop down into the 20s or the teens or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly. I mean,
Right.
there's some nights that aren't even really that cold, but I mean, this gives you a good idea of, where you're, where you're going to come in at. But I mean, look, where are your savings? A new gas boiler, going to a more higher efficiency boiler, um, can help, can
But you're
definitely
not
help.
seeing nearly as much reduction in the carbon emissions by
No,
going, so you are saving money with the new gas boiler, but you're not really reducing much with the
you're not
carbon
reducing any
emissions.
carbon at all. You're still
Right.
adding carbon
Right.
to the air at that point. And I mean, this can also, it does also give you, your carbon emission savings right here at the bottom. And then also what this is doing is, it is showing you the metric savings, the chart. Basically, this is the same chart as what's above here, but now it's giving you some costs, some rough costs of what it would cost to install these systems, and then the cost after the incentives, or is there any savings? Is there any payback? So I mean, when you look at a ductless air source heat pump, at 12 to $16,000 to install, there's a $10,000 rebate. Cost incentives, cost after incentives could be anywhere from 2,000 to $6,200. But is there a payback at this time? No.
No,
You
because
know
it
what I
costs
mean?
a little. It's going to cost a little bit more, so you're not going to make money back. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look at the ground source heat pump. Look at these years of what it would cost you to get a payback on this, and cost after incentives of, what this could possibly cost to do. So, it's a pretty good calculator. I mean, you can download this in a PDF. You could go back and edit your inputs if you want. So, I mean, this is a great tool to go look at if you have, this type of fuel and you're looking to switch over to a heat pump. Again, it's the
Right.
heating comparison calculator from MassSave. It's right on their website, and it's there for homeowners to go use to see, what is your estimated cost, and it's going to give you a real beautiful chart and good data of what you're seeing here to,
Right.
what you're going to have. So, what I'd
So
like
let's
to do.
try another example, Mike. If we could go back and put in some different types of fuels, maybe if we started over and we put in what generally gives the most cost savings. You said oil heat, right?
Oil it,
So let's put in that you're doing oil heat and maybe that you're running some like maybe window air conditioners in the summer to air condition your home, and let's take another look at the cost savings and see what changes.
okay, sure. I'll use that same zip code again, and we'll simulate the same house with a 2,000 square foot
Yeah.
heating system, and we'll use this boiler this time, but we'll now use this as fuel oil.
Hmm.
Okay, and again, how do you want to enter it? Gallons? How many gallons of fuel are you using, or how many dollars of fuel are you using?
Right, and this
So
one is a little less complicated than the gas because the gas you had to do the comparison between your gas usage during the summer and your gas usage during the winter in order to try to figure out how much of the gas you're using for heating. This one is obvious because you're not using oil for running things like your stove, et cetera. So this one you could just go right from your
yeah,
fuel oil bill
you
and
might be
put in the
making a little
gallons.
bit of hot water. You're probably making some hot water with your oil at that time, but nothing crazy.
Right, right.
know. So I mean, I mean, I'm hearing upwards now of, $5 a gallon for oil, for home heating oil. You got a 50 gallon, 250 gallon tank. I mean, 250 times five is what? It's
Yeah,
twelve
$1,250.
hundred twelve hundred fifty
Yeah,
dollars to fill your tank. And I
right.
mean, if you're filling your tank, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in the course of the winter,
Mm,
let's let's do an average of, let's do $4,000.
sure. Yeah.
It's pretty much where we'd be today. And
Yeah, and then maybe the
no
room
air
or wall
conditioning.
wall or portable air conditioners. Yeah, let's add the air conditioning in there too and just see.
So now you can see this one is producing positives.
Right.
There's a lot of positives in here. And a lot of metric tons are being avoided with oil because it's much higher because of the type of fuel that you're burning. It's an oil heated home. So I mean, when we start looking at a ductless air source heat pump to heat your home, okay, um, $846 in savings, avoiding 7.6 metric tons of carbon. It's equivalent of driving your automobile almost a little over 18,000 miles.
Wow. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, and this, again, this is oil at, the current prices today. I mean, if they tend to go up or they go down and they fluctuate a little bit. I mean, we saw this 2 and 3 years ago when oil was cheap. It was running about the same amount to use your heat pump. But I mean, again, here's your big impact right here is on the CO2 emissions, and there is a savings. Big savings with ground, geothermal, but this is a different animal than what we do. It's a
Right.
different type of a system, but I mean, a ducted air source heat pump to heat your home. Again, same thing. This is using duct work. And then down below, again, here's your, calculator right here showing you your electric and fuel cost savings right here of what's going to happen. And then the carbon emissions over here on the other side. And then here's some costs of, where you would be in the payback. I mean, when you start looking at the ductless air source heat pump, that is not supplemental, and you look at the rebates, the whole home rebate at 10,000 for 12,000 to 16,000 to install it. It's a 2 to 7 year payback with anywhere from $200 to $6,200. And again, these numbers are based on you know pretty basic installations. I mean, there's installations that could be more complex. There's installations that might be a little bit easier. These are all average costs. Okay, so you just have to keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking at this. But I mean, this is giving you a good idea of what this is going to do in your home and why you would want to do this. I'm seeing a lot of activity now where people don't understand the $10,000 whole home rebate.
Hmm.
They think that they're going to save 40% on their energy bill and their heating with natural gas, and they're going to get this $10,000 check to go out and install an air source heat pump in their house. Well, I just showed you that's a false statement. You can get the $10,000 with natural gas to heat your home, but are you going to save 40% on your heating bill? No, you're actually going to increase your heating bill at that point.
Hmm.
You know,
But again, if your focus, if you really just want to have a greener house and you want to, contribute less to, global warming and things like that, that could very well be worth it to you. And, less emissions even in your home. So it's just like a cleaner environment that you're living in your
yeah,
home. If that's what you're looking for, then it could still be very well worth it to you.
yeah, and I mean, a lot of this is like, look at electric cars, look at Tesla, and look at these electric cars that they're producing. They're a little bit more money than a regular
Hmm.
car,
Right.
but what are they doing? They're this is where that impact is coming. Am I right or wrong? This is why we're going to the electric car market, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people are focused on that. They want
Yes.
to be good stewards of the environment, and
Yes. And I
that's what they're
mean,
looking for.
this is the secondary source to that. I want you to think of this. If most people, if you're looking to go, looking to electrify your home, you're probably going to have an electric vehicle, electric air source heat pump. You're probably going to have solar in your house at some point too, I would think. So now you have to look at the offset of these electric costs with solar too. I mean, I would highly recommend to anyone that is looking to do this that you would absolutely want to be looking at solar too, because
Mm,
now you're picking up the efficiencies every way you possibly can to use the environment
right.
to heat your home too as well,
Yeah,
using
you're making your
whatever you
own
can, making
electricity
your
with
own
the
electricity.
solar panels, and then you're also, taking that energy and you're putting it right into making heat and air conditioning in your
Yeah.
home, and you just much closer to that sort of
Yeah.
carbon neutral
Oh, yeah.
goal that people are looking for.
I truly believe in the next 10 to 15 years, John, you're going to be seeing homes built automatically with solar panels on them
Hmm.
and everything is going to have an electric plug for a car. I mean, look at how fast the electric car market is moving right now. I mean, I saw something, commercials now, Ford trucks, Ford vans, everything is moving to electric. It's just, and I mean, there's things that Mass Save is putting out here right now. They're offering these monies to switch over to these types of systems, and these rebates are pretty substantial. And usually, what I see with Mass Save in the beginning is the rebates come out real strong. And I saw some just metrics on this of you know last week of how many millions of dollars have already been given out in the first 6 months for air source heat pumps and installations in homes. It's in the millions.
Right.
And once these funds start drying up, usually year two, the cost, the rebates start to decrease at that point. Because it's a 3-year program and there's so much money in the funds. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but the norm of what you see is they come out of the gate strong and then it starts to decrease at that point.
All right. So what do you recommend that people do? Should they come online onto the MassSave website, look up the cost calculator, put in their numbers for their house, get a rough estimate or an idea of what kind of savings, whether it's in actual fuel costs or electricity costs, or just how much they're going to reduce their metric tons of carbon
Yeah,
emissions. Take a look at that, get a realistic idea of that, and then give N.E.T.R a call to get a real estimate, and have you come out and take a look at their home, and discuss the actual possibility of switching over
absolutely,
to
John.
ductless.
Absolutely. That's I love that the way you're thinking of how people should do it is do a little research on this. Understand, that there sometimes there could not be a savings to heat your home. The other thing you have to be looking at too is where am I going to be from an air conditioning standpoint? Will I save money on my electric bill with this type of an air conditioning system? Because with the heat pump, you do get air conditioning and you do get heat.
Hmm.
So, you have to look at that. But yes, I really highly recommend, doing your research on this and, understanding, how is this going to impact my home? How is it going to impact my costs and on my yearly heating bills? How is it going to impact the metric tons? How is it going to, impact, the environment as well? And what other things should I be considering too?
All right. Well, that's really great information, Mike. Thanks again for speaking with me today.
Thanks, John.
And if you want to get more information on this, you can go to the N.E.T.R website at netrainc.com or call 781 933 NETR. That's 781 933 6387.